Alright, today we're going to be solving quadratic equations by finding square roots. Just so we're on the same page here, square root is the opposite of squaring a number. So it's a number, trying to find a number that, when multiplied by itself, equals that number. So it'll undo the squaring of a number. Every positive number has two square roots. Perfect square is a number that when you take the square root of it, you get an integer. We have the list down there: 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, 225, and on and on and on. Kind of going back up here to every positive number having two square roots. When I square 10 times 10 gives me 100, and also negative 10 times negative 10 gives me 100. So the square root of 100 could actually be positive 10 or negative 10. And so we'll have to use that today when we're going through each of these problems and solving. When I'm evaluating a radical expression down here, so I've got 2 times the square root of a plus b squared. So when I plug in each of these, I get 11 plus 5 squared. So 11 plus 25. 11 plus 25 is 36. The square root of 36 is 6. And then 2 times 6 is 12. What I have to do is I have to treat a radical sign or a square root sign like it's parentheses in my order of operations. So I'll do what's underneath the square root sign first, and then move on to what's outside once I take the square root. So these are going to be kind of the steps that we do this. First, in these examples, first thing I'm going to do is add or subtract to get my x squared by itself, getting my x over the same side or combine them like terms, and then moving the constant term away. Then multiply or divide. Then take the square root. The last thing will always be take the square root of both sides, and make sure I always have a positive and negative number for my answer. So here for this first one. First thing I want to do is subtract 4x squared to both sides so that I get my x's on the same side, my like terms. So I get 272 is equal to 16x squared. Divide by 16. So 272 divided by 16 equals 17. So 17 is equal to x squared. And then take the square root of both sides. And so I get, always remember the plus or minus, and then 4.1 is equal to x. So those are my two answers. For this middle problem, first thing I'm going to do is combine like terms. Remember, these like terms are on the same side, so I don't have to add or subtract them, I just have to combine them together. 4h squared plus negative 2h squared gives me 2h squared minus 3. Then add a 3 to both sides. So you get 18 is equal to 2h squared. Divide both sides by 2. You get 9 is equal to h squared. And then take the square root of both sides. So h is equal to 3. Oops. And let's make that neater. Don't forget to do the plus or minus like I did. There you go. Here we're going to actually use, change the 16 to 9.8 like you guys do in science class. That's the acceleration of gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared. We'll change this from 32 feet to 32 meters. And so I'm using the formula. S is my initial height, h is my final height, and t is my time. So if I drop an egg from 32 meters in the air, at what time will it hit the ground? So h, my final height, is going to be 0 because that's when it splats against the ground. I have 9.8 t squared plus my initial height, which is 32. And I actually have to make this a negative 9.8. Let's make that neater. Oops. So a negative 9.8 is equal to, there we go. Because just like you're learning in science class, with vectors, you have direction along with the magnitude, and so since my acceleration of gravity is pulling you towards the ground rather than down towards the ground rather than up away from the ground, I have to make it negative. So I subtract 32 to both sides. So you get negative 32 is equal to negative 9.8 t squared. Divide both sides by negative 9.8. And so 32 divided by, or negative 32 divided by negative 9.8 is equal to we'll round that up to 3.3 t squared. And then take the square root. Oops. So I get plus or minus 1.8 is equal to t. And actually in this case, since time doesn't make sense if I'm negative 1.8 seconds, so I'm going to say that my final answer is 1.8 seconds. And that's how I would use that. I'm not going to do that yet. Don't need to take the pop quiz. There's your homework.